Welcome in. Glad to have you always in this space. Looking for all you good folks that are connected and always are watching and just being part of. Just glad you're here. We come here to, man, sup together, be part of it together, learn together. Because I'm learning too. I'm not this. I have knowledge of this, and I've been in this for a bit, but this continues to grow. I've never looked at the stopping of this as far as even my experience. But we're going to get into some stuff today that definitely is connected. And I'm not going to waste much time in it. We're going to talk about something that I have known about for a bit and how it's there and how do we become food for others. We're not going to waste no time. This is what this is about. I want to share something that I wrote the other day, actually experienced it, recorded it, because that's what I do. And this substance that I'm talking about is called loosh. Loosh is definitely something that is out there and there's a meaning to it. We will get into that. I will have a short video after this to get even more concise, but I want to let you know what this is. So this is something I wrote the other day. Let me share it with you. This is how we produce loosh. We produce it unintentionally, even at times. When we're not in others and we're in ignorance or blindness. So loosh is when we have a strong intention, we meet it with negative emotional connection to it. Strong intention meets negative emotion. Energy and motion produce loosh with intention, which could be a very great intention, but when it's mixed with a negative reaction with it, then which comes as it comes in like a flood within our reality of for them who love to eat and they prey on our negativity from this lush. It's loosh. I didn't change that word because it's a word that when I was going through the editing, it's not out there. This is a word that it was used and created for this specifically. So that lush is loosh. In itself, intention is a creative force, everything even beautiful. But when it is converted into negativity, there are them that join that on the menu. You might say, what do you mean on the menu? You're creating an energy and then you have this intention and you put it at an intention is a great thing from the heart. But then you mix it with negativity like rage, revenge, getting somebody back, payback, stealing, thieving. Your intention is to create something which from that space doesn't judge when it's from the heart. But then when it's met with this very egotistical revenge, it's just an example. Another example would be I used, and I even might have read it here. Let me go down. Let me keep reading. Maybe I didn't put it here. Yeah, I didn't. It will be put in another thing, but it's self-intention, creative force, everything even beautiful. When it's converted in negativity, they're them that enjoy it on the menu. My god dang voice, man. On the menu. With that intention of, and I don't know why this is like this. This should have fixed this unless of anger or an intention of revenge. When you add the intention, like I said, and then take it with a negative, when it is infused with wrath, which will produce a negative loosh intention. Now it has become at first an energetic field, but infused with the negativity of revenge would be an example. This would be converted into loosh, a primordial creative is creative, beautiful, and love when it is met with negative, lower vibration, and which is emotion, which emotion is energy and motion. God, I miss parts of this that this should have been fixed with the I don't like with the editing. Emotion being used for revenge, using it to get back at somebody. We're now looking at negative loosh, which is produced. Now we can be harvested for negative food. And this is energetic food. You've heard me say, one of the things I say, don't watch your leaking, tighten your bolts. This has kind of been my channel, because we're leaking frequency and there's always people who want to eat. This loosh is very organized, more than just what I said. I'll use an example that I thought I wrote, but it is on my recording, but I didn't put all my recording. My recording on this was 36 minutes. I was really revelating, and I'm not going to, that I was going to do it by processes, do a little bit more tomorrow or whatever, and I still might, but I'm just going to go ahead and set it. So you're at an NFL football game, and you're the home team, and this is a championship game. It could be even a regular season game, but a lot of things on the line, championship. If you win, you go to the Super Bowl, or you win this is the Super Bowl if you want to use it in that vein. And you're home, so your crowd is pumped. They're anticipating a celebration of this home city with winning this championship. Their mood is they're jacked, they're ready for this in celebration. They're at this game. They got everybody watching from the bars. They got everybody in the arena. And these arenas are all created on ley lines to harvest this. I'm telling you the truth. This is definitely something. The arenas aren't put in happenstance. They're put there for a certain reason, and where they're put on in their arrangement of why they're there is all very organized for the looshies that like to eat this frequency and vibration, almost like a negative Pac-Man, negative Pat-woman. They eat your energy. They're looking for you to leak, and this is a harvesting mean. They're getting you all together. So you're at this game. Your team is in the game, but you lose. And what happens to an arena, a stadium, when the home team loses, all their frequency and vibration goes down, 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 and down. You said, yeah, that happens. They become even depressed, right? Angry, sad, depressed. Their energetic field just dropped low because their anticipation was winning. So they were going to rocket it, their energy, and celebrate. But the celebration's now gone into a state of sadness, anger, regret. What ifs? What ifs? We could have did this, rehashing the energy that didn't happen. This is called loosh. What does loosh produce? It produces this at the stadium, and guess what? It becomes the menu of a giant buffet for them who like to eat this negative energy and sup with it. Done purposely. I told you gematria. These games ain't what you think they are, and I used to be a big sports fan. Yeah, and I've kind of went to a little bit on gematria, and you might say, what are you talking about? Learn gematria, and you'll understand that yeah, there's a lot of things that you would see would happen with this stuff during games and all this stuff and certain things happening. This isn't about this, but this is why this happens. It's called loosh. Everybody's sadness, everybody's weakness, nobody has any faith. They're all dejected. They go to lower frequency and vibration of sadness. The home team got beat in the championship game in their own place. Like I said, they were looking for celebration. They got defeated. They went into defeat. And then people are so invested energetically to all these sports and their athletic teams, it can make them sad. It can even make them angry. It can even make them want to fight. It can even have them break things. Mix it with alcohol. You've got so much loosh there. They're saying this is a buffet of loosh. Wah, 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 wah. And they're supping with this. Supping with it. And you might say, why? All this negative energy that you could produce with this intention is called loosh. Yeah, it's loosh. That's the nickname for it. We're going to find out why it's loosh. We're going to find out why it's loosh. Why are things done for certain reasons? right? Why are they done for certain reasons? I'm going to stop the share. I don't know why both of them didn't pop up because I do have another share I want to use. Of course, I'm going to use my girl Sarah. This is actually called, the other video on loosh is like 28 minutes, so I didn't want to use this, but loosh will be mentioned in the shorter video. And this is actually going to be awesome because this shorter video is actually the hidden purpose of war. Something else is going on. You will find out here in this video. Is just 11 minutes. So I didn't want to, that's why I went to this site because of the length of the video, which I should have did. I'll probably do a loosh video later, but that's what I wrote. And I wrote 30 minutes. I recorded, went into Revelation about loosh, purpose, and how this all aligned. I think my loosh was 5 minutes, not that. 35 minutes when I went into another stream, which I will share one day on my recorder. I went into it the other day, sent it to some real close friends, but I will also share that 36 minutes with y'all. And you will see, I'm not going to do it all at one time. I'm going to break it down in different areas because I'm going to have it, dictated on the word like I just did now. But anyways, let's get into this. I will intervene when needed to be to say something or add something.
One of the darker elements to this reality is the manipulation of our emotional energy for the purpose of creating our collective experience. This means that this manipulation takes place through forms both subtle and severe. One of its most intensified expressions is through war, and it's the deeper purpose as to why war exists. This substance that we produce from our emotional energy has been called many names. One of them is loosh. So today I will be explaining what loosh is, why it's so important, and at the end of this video, I will be sharing with you how to prevent yourself from having your loosh harvested so that you can become spiritually sovereign. Humans are a fractal of the multiverse. One could argue that everything is a fractal of the greater universe, and they would be right. But humans are in a unique position in that we are a compressed form of the entire cosmos and have the capacity for self-awareness. What I just said sounds...
You guys are something else. Did you hear that? You're compressed form of the cosmos, condensed into physical matter, and you have the ability to be self-aware, conscious. You're powerful. All you are that under my, it's everywhere. But them that are under my voice listening to this, you're valuable. And this will even show you how valuable it is. It's very, have you seen my picture, what I broke down and used the example of revenge and then used the example of arena setting when everybody goes into, to the other side, what it would produce energetically of a low frequency of sadness mixed with alcohol, mixed with anger, mixed with all that comes with it. But I'm gonna digress so she can talk.
It's pretty harmless, and yet you would not believe how dangerous of a combination this makes it to be human. As a fractal of the multiverse, we are a wellspring of eternal creative life force. There is no running out of this energy, and there is no lack of it. It is an endless reserve of passion, power, and vitality that can best be described in human words only as abundance.
Increase your profit and work less time with Kittle, a genius new AI tool which is perfect for...
We can imagine this wellspring of eternal power flowing to us through a pipeline from the uncompressed universal expression of ourselves. And it's through this pipeline of sheer life force that we generate the frequency of worthiness and bliss, which call forth the experiences we wish to have. This creative energy wills itself into being through our desire. It informs the field how to materialize through our intent, and it shapes the world around us with its frequency. We can weaken this pipeline through constricting it with doubt or riddling it with holes by feeling disempowered. As much as we can direct our energy with empowerment and authoritative intent, we can also diminish it. This life force is truly the fuel that animates thought into being, and as creator beings, we can use it however we would like. Sit for a moment with how valuable this substance is in the larger scheme of things, and how much of a precious commodity it would be for some to collect this exponential life force from multiple sources and harness it for one's own intentions. This creative life force that we all embody and that we all have access to is not negative, but it can and is leveraged in order to generate very negative collective experiences. And humanity is constantly being inflicted with every form of trauma one could think of in order to extract our emotional energy. When this energy is in its natural state, it's called fuel, or more commonly known as love. When it manifests as the negative form of life force, it's called loosh. Loosh is the substance that is emitted from all beings when they are in the state of intense distress. In this tarnished condition, like feeds like. The turmoil produced by loosh acts as the source of nourishment for both extra-dimensional forces and their human counterparts that receive pleasure through actually inflicting trauma. This is not in the same class as energetic vampires, so if you'd like to know more exactly about energy vampires, let me know in the comments, and I'll make a video explaining that concept in depth. Humans produce suffering all on our own and without the help of outside forces. And we would also be able to solve that very same suffering as well. And we would continue this process of suffering and resolution into evolution. That's how one evolves. But when you throw into the mix that the entire system was designed from the get-go to maintain our already fractured psyche in order to better harvest us for our loosh, that puts things into a larger perspective. In this case, it could be a little bit more challenging to reach resolution once you get parasitic thought forms involved. The more a being has the ability for self-awareness, the more substantial that source of loosh is. This is because consciousness holds more life force.
This is heavy to think about this. And we just went over in my last video how important it was to know that your energetic field, right, is powerful. And on the karmic wheel, when we had when we went over the karmic wheel, right, and going into from karma to dharma, that we can actually be siphoned or harvested by putting things in our reality, hence a basketball game, hence a football game, hence a war, to produce this energy by a lot times, and then cultivate it, but with negativity by the impacting of it from its potential of love to just lower vibrational food.
We innately carry more life force by being able to self-inquire, assign meaning, and discern. Consciousness itself is the carrier and director of our fuel, which is why so many belief systems prey on our consciousness. It makes for quite the buffet. There is an important precursor in order for our life force to be converted into loosh. A being, or many beings, have to be in the state of fight or flight, and they need to have a strong negative belief plus a strong negative emotion. There are numerous ways that intense distress that creates loosh can manifest. Violence, fear, grief, pain, rage, depression, loneliness, submitting to pathological institutions, and panic, to name a few. Separating people intentionally so that they long for one another also generates a lot of loosh. The adrenaline that floods into our system, the overwhelm of being in fight or flight that short circuits the body-mind, creating disconnection. The soul loss we undergo when an aspect of our psyche absorbs the shock of the trauma by breaking off, fracturing itself so it can save itself. When I say we are in separation consciousness, it is no metaphor. In fact, humanity is in a severe state of soul loss, and the world stage only adds all of our energetic fuel to the flames. It is continuously used for one thing and one thing alone: to produce as much loosh from the collective as it possibly can. Have you ever noticed how high-strung the world's nervous system is? How there's always a colossal conflict, one after the other, shaping the field, imposing itself on our true potential, and constantly molding reality into its image. We could grow so accustomed to horror that we mistake the biggest tool used to harvest loosh, like war and the media, as a natural or even a noble part of reality. And yet, the hidden purpose behind these instruments, as well as every other orchestrated event to reach the world stage, is only to extract our loosh. The terminology for this dynamic in Eastern mysticism is called yaja, and food for the moon. In fact, the way we are able to tell if the media's brainwashing has been complete is if humanity thinks that war, or any other form of coercion, is a necessary and valid concept. That is the opposite.
I'm pausing it for a minute. This has never happened to my computer. We're putting on this video, which is deep, and I think a lot of this is a good unveiling for the people to really see this, to really know what's really going on. But you have power definitely to impact it. But then I've never had it on not one video of buffering. That was it buffered 3 to 4 times, short buffering, but this makes things that make you go
of enlightenment. That is the successful corruption of a being's free will to become an instrument for pathological forces who create the problem so that they can create the reaction in order to create the solution. And none of this could possibly be if they cannot convince victims themselves to victimize other victims.
It's so sad.
It's never done for any other reason than to hypnotize us into separation consciousness, re-traumatize the collective psyche, and then use that loosh to create new timelines. As you can see, this is a pathological feedback loop. And this is one of the lessons a human being needs to learn in order to become spiritually sovereign. That we must heal the psyche enough to recognize pathology. Being able to discern pathology is the single most important way to make sure your loosh is not harvested. Because we have become so desensitized to this version of reality that we cannot actually see its pathology accurately. And so we keep feeding our power and our life force into the system or to controlled opposition that are all going back into the feedback loop of sending our loosh. So the way that you become spiritually sovereign is to first identify pathological behavior, which is so much easier said than done. And the second step is to develop emotional intelligence. Because in truth, if humanity was not emotionally...
Check that out, emotional intelligence. I've heard that a few times, and I mentioned on the last video how if we remain spiritually leveled up and even physically in shape, but emotionally we're our bodies of 5-year-olds, that wouldn't produce emotional intelligence. So there's an intelligence for the emotional body too that we must know and not get caught up in the other side being used in. That means discernment for sure, but let's see what Sarah says.
Stunted, we would easily be able to identify pathological behavior and the forces that are wielding it. And by identifying all of the different forms that pathology disguises itself as, we would no longer continue to be manipulated by it. Because of the way that this universe is set up, humanity may not be where this dilemma of loosh originated, but the only way to resolve it is through integrating the psyche so that our creative life force is no longer continuously being hijacked. This is done by becoming trauma-informed and healing the inner schisms in our mental and emotional bodies. Creating a trauma-informed collective is the only way to break this negative feedback loop that we are in. This doesn't mean we ignore the outside world and don't do anything about it, but how will we be able to know what our personal form of service to the external will be if we were straight up wounded? No one can tell you what that service will look like, except yourself. In order to create a timeline that is prosperous and optimal, we would need to heal the severe state of soul loss that we are currently in. Treating ourselves and the world like we are in a significant state of soul loss may sound bleak, but it's actually super liberating because now we have the context that can actually shift this paradigm. It's important to make the distinction here between having negative emotions and emitting loosh. It is entirely normal to have negative emotions. They're a part of this experience and they are not unnatural by any means. However, when you become intimate with your negative emotions, and when you know their name, and you allow them to be fully felt and received, and can hold space for them, this is the complete opposite of loosh. This is alchemy. I hope this has helped you reclaim your sovereignty.
That would mean heal it instead of let it out. Doing your work on it. Yeah, that's deep. I had to do this video on loosh. I actually, like I said, I shared what you've seen written on my word. I did all by my recorder. I was just in a space the other day of just going, a lot of revelation, just flowing. So I took my phone and started recording. And I got a few more other recordings I want to share, because even what I shared wasn't even that wasn't even the 4 minutes that I think 4 minutes and 20 seconds I had on it. But yeah, loosh is heavy. Loosh is, it makes sense because it's not what we think it is. Even the politics game is to get our loosh. What's happening? I hate the Democrats. I hate the Republicans. Left is stupid. Right's this. Left's this. And everybody's against each other. Divide and conquer mentality produces these emotions. And then guess what? Your food for thought. Your food for them that producing that for that to feed their continuance. And when we take responsibility, that discernment, when you see clearly, and then you solve your cleansing of your problems within, you take it, harness it, and you take responsibility within instead of just letting it out and not ever taking responsibility for it. You create the monster named loosh. It turns loosh from this energy that it's coming from, actually in its simplest form, it ends up being chaos, but a positive chaos. And I have some videos coming about that. Is actually very, very psychic and creative realm. But when it's mixed with the negativity, it ends up being food for loosh. Yeah, it creates this loosh or this negative food that's taken down. Like she said, war. She used war. I used a game. In the process, I even used just the thought of having revenge against one person, and then you have an intention what you're going to do, and then you mix that intention with the negativity of revenge, which can be and end up in the worst state, murder, or hurting somebody very bad, or hurting yourself, would be looshing. We see looshing all over the place, and they live on it. So it's really up to us waking folks to take the responsibility. As you go higher, you have more freedom to do this. And that's what I said on the last video. Coming from one space to the next space, you'll see that your willpower, your free will is activated more and more, and you have the space to be the free will individual. Like she says, keyword, sovereignty. We're looking for that spiritual inner sovereignty to kick in. But when we're operating out of the system, being of it, being in it, but being also of it, you're just feeding the programs, the systems, and those who, as we've seen on this certain level, them that run the show are doing it. So anything that sets you off or can get you into negative thought through emotions, like I said, a perfect setup for sports fans. And the reason I come sports fans is because I was one. I was a sport. If you go listen to my, I've coached multiple years of football in the past. I used to play. My boys played. I coached football from the lowest level of Pop Warner youth football to even some high school and varsity. I've coached basketball. I was very competitive. I love the sport. I was raised in the sport, and then I can't tell you, and you don't have to be like me. It's all a process. I don't watch any ESPN or none of that because it's all wanting to get your loosh. Because the sports at one time used to be a place where people got away from their troubles. Let me come home, watch these games or be participating, and I can leave my job, I can leave the politics alone. But now they're just putting it in your face. You see it. Just to get this. Everything's anteed up. So more and more there's a sovereign, when they ante up though, there's a release of more sovereignty if you take your wisdom and apply it as we try to do here. Take your tools, your sovereignty opens up too. It's just not one-sided. Not one-sided at all. There's anting up because even if the book of Revelations are playground, right? Their playbook. The word revelation meaning that which is hidden is revealed. That's happening into a next level for us. Let's go. Let's have a great day. Appreciate you guys. See you soon on some more inspiring, eye-opening revelation, love messages. Let's get it going. Let's come into unity consciousness together. Happy together. How is the weather? Well, that's an old song, I know. But you guys have a great day.